see you walking down the boulevard.
Hey. Welcome back to my channel. Today I bring you a different and a sad story about South Africa, the country which I live in, the country which I grow up in. As I speak, looting and people dying still continues. The country is falling apart, and this is no longer about Jacob Zuma. People really have to stop, because right now we don't know where to buy bread. This is the current situation in South Africa.
Outbursts of violence described as the deadliest and most unprecedented since the end of apartheid some 27 years ago continue to flare up across parts of South Africa. As of Tuesday, the death toll resulting from the violence and looting had jumped to over 70. Many of the deaths occurred in chaotic stampedes as scores of people clambered over each other, trying to steal food, home appliances, and clothing from retail stores.
Look at how it is. What are we going to eat tomorrow? South Africa is going to be struggling tomorrow. We'll be having nothing. People are fighting for something that is not even there.
A deployment of 2,500 soldiers to support the police efforts to contain the violence has done little to cool the unrest that was triggered by the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma. There has also been damage done to the local facilities of South Korean firms like LG and Samsung. LG Electronics TV manufacturing and distribution facilities in Durban burned down on Monday during a violent riot. Samsung also reported property damage at the company's logistics center in eastern South Africa, but the scale of the damage has yet to be confirmed. The South Korean embassy in South Africa says it's making efforts to protect Korean nationals in the country.
Our embassy is exerting every effort to protect South Korean nationals by maintaining close contact with the local Korean community and corporations.
The Durban Korean community say they are afraid to even step outside their homes due to the unrest, even though they are running out of daily necessities.
This is just so sad. Poverty will now become our friend, since there will be shortage of food and many will just die of hunger. Let me show you another video. This is just madness. There is no love in this country. I am living South Africa. The situation that we are in breaks my heart. They are taking everything in the shops.
Business owners lost everything. They worked hard to grow their business just to be looted in a minute.
Authorities in South Africa say that more than 70 people have been killed in some of the worst violence the country has seen in years. Stores and warehouses across the country have been looted, and more than 1,000 people have been arrested. The unrest erupted last week after former President Jacob Zuma began serving a prison sentence for contempt of court.
This warehouse in Durban was ransacked by hundreds of people. The shelves emptied, the goods carried out in bulk. It is only one of dozens of malls, supermarkets, and small shops that were targeted by looters. Like this party supplies shop in Soweto.
It's over. It's over. I've got overheads. I owe banks money. How am I going to pay this month? With what?
In some instances, armed local residents went after the looters themselves. The government sent soldiers to the most affected areas as police struggled to control the unrest.
The current situation on the ground is under strong surveillance, and we will ensure that it does not deteriorate any further. We cannot allow anyone to make a mockery of our democratic state.
The protest started last week after former South African President Jacob Zuma began serving a 15-month jail term. He was sentenced for contempt of court after refusing to appear at a corruption inquiry. The outrage of Zuma's supporters was compounded by anger over persisting inequality and poverty in the country.
In the past days, looting has spread from stores to factories and warehouses, ransacking and rioting in South Africa's worst violence since apartheid. From the eastern provinces of KwaZulu-Natal to Johannesburg's economic hub.
All of the doors are open. People are walking in.
Highways on fire, skies full of smoke. The police hopelessly outnumbered. Protests started with the jailing of former South African President Jacob Zuma last Wednesday, accused of corruption. His supporters see his treatment as a symbol of the current government's repression. If they release Zuma, he says, we would be free. Until then, we keep protesting. But over the weekend, this spark ignited frustration with years of economic hardship, unemployment at 32%, and months of pandemic restrictions. And now the prospect of food shortages and hunger.
This is very painful, and I don't know what can I say about that. This is not our fault. I don't know what happened to the government. We don't know, but this is not our fault.
The government calls the riots nothing more than chaos caused by criminals.
There is no grievance, no any political cause that can justify the violence and the destruction.
But now it's under fire for not mobilizing nearly as many security forces to tackle this crisis as it did to enforce pandemic lockdowns just a few weeks ago. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share.